Welcome back to the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast. It is Thursday, August 4th. We're rolling right along here in August. My name's Pat, if you're new here, so welcome to the podcast. And this episode is going to be going over this week's edition of AEW Dynamite from Wednesday, August 3rd. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. We are on the road to 200 subscribers on YouTube, and you can continue to help us out by subscribing to the podcast on whatever streaming service you use, whether it be Spotify, Anchor, Stitcher, Overcast, Breaker, Apple Podcasts, Google, whatever you listen to podcasts on. If you're not on YouTube, you can find us there. You can subscribe and help us continue to grow this our show. We'd appreciate it. So consider doing that. Also, be sure to follow us over on Twitter at Deep Six Wrestling without the G to continue to stay up to date for when we are posting podcasts. And we also tweet over there regularly, so follow us over there on the Twitter. I have more recording to do, so I'm going to try and get through this episode as quickly as possible. That doesn't mean this is going to be a 5-minute review or anything, but we're not going to go over anything aside from Dynamite. I still have to do the Night 10 review for the G1 Climax, and the Night 11 is in a few hours from now, so I got to take care of that. I don't know if Ryan has finished his NXT UK podcast, but I still got to put that out. And then Friday, I have to do the Impact Power Hour for Ryan and Angelo for Impact Wrestling, and then Rob has the SmackDown review, and I think there's more G1 shows this weekend, so just, busy stuff. So there was a chance that Joey was going to finally return this week, but it just did not end up working out, so we will continue to wait with our fingers and our toes and all of our body parts crossed as we anticipate the return to the AEW podcast here at the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast. By Joey, my co-host. But for now, it is another solo edition of this podcast. So, just me. So bear with me, and we're going to get through this. Keep in mind, it is brutal outside. I just got back from a run to Target, and it was like 8:30, and felt like it was the middle of the day in summer. It felt like it was like 100 degrees out, and absolutely disgusting. This weather needs to be stopped. I cannot wait for summer to be over. This is just absolutely brutal. Man, I feel bad for if you're living in the heat anywhere, like where it's really, really hot. I do not envy you. New Jersey is, hit or miss with weather. This summer has been absolutely brutal though. So, yeah. Just trying to cool off right now as I record this podcast. But let's dive in. So this is the August 3rd edition of AEW Dynamite. We're coming off the heels of Fight for the Fallen, and next week is Quake by the Lake, or Quake at the Lake, whatever it's called. So just a regular episode of Dynamite here. And we opened off with a singles match between Orange Cassidy versus Jay Lethal, with TNT Championship implications here, as both men, I believe, are in the top 5, and coming off of Rampage, Wardlow is involved with this, so basically, it was going to be whoever won this is going to get the next shot at the TNT Championship, it appeared. So, a sort of unofficial number 1 contenders match. Right off the bat, the lethal injection gets avoided early, with Orange Cassidy drop-kicking the back of Jay Lethal mid-move, before then diving to the floor with a tope suicida, as Cassidy pushes Lethal up the stage by lightly kicking his bum. Lethal crawls up the stage as Satnam Singh comes out to back up Lethal, and then we get the spot of the night here, as Lethal throws Orange Cassidy down the ramp, and is standing there with Satnam, which prompts Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta to come out with Trent on Chuck's shoulders, and they have a trench coat on, evening the odds against Satnam as Sanjay Dutt comes out to pull Satnam away from them. Visually, this was like the dumbest thing ever, but this was so goofy and it made sense for the best friends. I can't complain. I'm sure some people are gonna be like, this is ruining wrestling. This is awful. Please grow up. This was just fun. Jay Lethal takes control here as everybody else leaves, and he takes control of Orange Cassidy at ringside. He slams his leg into the steel steps and puts Orange Cassidy's ankle between the apron and the steel steps and hits just a fast, slow drop kick as we go into commercial break. Coming back, we have the figure 4 locked in on Cassidy, but he rolls to the ropes for the break. Orange Cassidy gets on the apron. Lethal gets him with a suplex, but Orange Cassidy counters with the Stun Dog Millionaire. The satellite DDT gets attempted, but Lethal counters into the lethal combination. Jay goes up to the top for the elbow drop, but Orange rolls across the ring and poses for a big pop from the crowd. Cassidy gets up to the middle rope. Lethal climbs up to meet him. Cassidy fires up with clubs to the back and follows up with a diving DDT, and then the satellite DDT follows up for a big near fall from Cassidy. Lethal looks for a powerbomb, but Orange counters that with a beach break for another near fall. He calls for the Orange punch, but Lethal runs through him, goes for the figure four when he gets rolled up, but he gets out of it. Lethal lands a thrust kick to the back of the knee, and then nails the lethal injection and wins the match. I thought it was a very strong opening match these two had. I think both are on really hot runs with all of their singles matches right now. Obviously, Jay coming off of the match with Samoa Joe, Cassidy coming off the Will Ospreay match, as well as the Wardlow match. So I'm enjoying both guys quite a bit right now. And it feels like we're a far cry away from when Jay Lethal first came into the company. People were like, what's Jay Lethal doing? Is he on Dark? It's like, they're just waiting to give him something. And now Jay Lethal's doing great stuff in AEW and Ring of Honor. So, post-match, Sanjay comes down and praises Jay Lethal before hosting an interview, asking for Lethal's thoughts on Wardlow after he came out to face Jay on Rampage. Lethal says that Wardlow wanted to defend Orange Cassidy, so he should come out now because Jay's going to lock him in the figure four again. The best friends and Wardlow run out to make the save, as Sanjay, Satnam, and Jay head out. Duck gets on the mic and says that he's a big man, and so is Wardlow, and he challenges Wardlow to put up the TNT Championship at Battle of the Belts 3 this weekend. Wardlow welcomes Columbus to Wardlow's world and says that it doesn't matter when it happens, the end result will be Wardlow whooping Jay Lethal's ass. And that's that. So that's our setup for the TNT Championship match at Battle of the Belts 3, which at this point would be joining Claudio Castagnoli versus Konosuke Takeshita for the ROH World Championship. And there would be one more match added later in the night that we'll get to. But yeah, I thought this was a very strong opening to Dynamite. My only hope is that after Lethal loses to Wardlow at Battle of the Belts, that he doesn't just fall down the card, because again, I've been really enjoying him, Satnam, and Sanjay together. I think they're a pretty solid heel trio. We had a very short recap video for Ricky Starks versus Hook last week. Just, going over Hook winning the FTW Championship. And then we would go into the Undisputed Elite's return. For the first time in months, this entire group is together in the ring, with this being the first time seeing Adam Cole since Forbidden Door, when he went down with the concussion, and Red Dragon since around Double or Nothing, I want to say, maybe even before that. And obviously their first time all with the Bucks as well, so it felt good to see all of them back together. Briefly. Adam Cole says that it feels good to be back in this ring, especially with his friends. Cole says that unfortunately he is not medically cleared yet, but he has thought about the success that they've had and what they can work on. Cole, as a great leader, has thought about everything and notes their chemistry and talent as a faction. He says that he came to AEW because of the Young Bucks, and that is loyalty. He has traveled the globe with Red Dragon, and loyalty is success. It's everything. Cole brings up the Trios tournament and says there's nothing more he'd love to do than for the Undisputed Elite to win the tournament, and says that if the Young Bucks won't choose Bobby Fish because he and Kyle aren't cleared yet, then they won't be in the tournament, and they won't be in the tournament because they won't be medically cleared. Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly blindside the Bucks, and Adam Cole leads a beatdown on the Young Bucks and Brandon Cutler here, as the Undisputed Elite turns on the Young Bucks. And as Adam Cole looks to take out Matt Jackson with a chair around his neck, Hangman Page's music hits, and out comes the Cowboy. Huge ovation for Hangman here, and he runs off the heels, and he reaches out his hand to help Matt to his feet. The crowd chants for the Elite, and commentary questions if the Elite are back. I thought this was a pretty great swerve here. I wasn't really expecting Cole and Red Dragon to turn on the Bucks right now, but this is what we got. It's unclear if Cole and Kyle are still cleared, because they did get physical here. They didn't take any bumps, I don't think, but still. So I am curious to see if they know they're going to be cleared shortly, or what the deal is with them. But very interesting nonetheless. I thought this did a great job at setting up the return of the Elite and turning the Young Bucks babyface, and just, it was a very well done, emotionally rewarding reunion with Hangman Page. And at least the only question is, where is Kenny Omega? Where does he fit into this? When will he be back? Does he return before All Out? Does he return at All Out? One would assume he's going to side with the Bucks and Hangman, but obviously, Kenny and Hangman are going to have to work some issues out on screen. So it's going to be interesting to see, but it is most likely going to be a very captivating story nonetheless. So here's to hoping. But I thought this was a very well done segment, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. After this, we go backstage for a promo from the interim AEW World Champion, Jon Moxley, and he talks about the last survivor of the Hart Dungeon facing off against the first survivor of the Blackpool Combat Club tonight with Wheeler Yuta versus Chris Jericho. And he says that he doesn't care who wins because when the bell rings, he has no respect for his opponent, regardless of his relationship with them. He is trying to hurt them, he's trying to make them bleed, and won't stop until he or his opponent goes to the hospital. When the BCC is all said and done, they're going to make the Hart Dungeon look like a daycare. Whoever wins next week, they better be ready, because this isn't a game. Very strong promo from Moxley. Christian is backstage with Tony Schiavone, and as Cage says, Jungle Boy took it too far for making it personal. Christian says he would never do that, and Jungle Boy drives a car into the arena and tries to run him over as Jungle Boy has to be escorted out, and Christian shouts at him for trying to kill him. What a guy Christian Cage is. We would then go into our women's tag team match tonight, which I feel like most people noted was a shock that it was positioned where it was on the card. The second match on the show, very early on, within the first hour. And we had Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter versus Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm. Jamie and Britt are out with really nice-looking matching gear. And Rosa and Toni didn't necessarily have matching gear, but they had a matching color scheme, I guess, for their shirts and stuff. And they did have matching sunglasses, but they had a red and black color scheme, whereas I think Britt and Jamie were blue, gold, and red. So, but I like matching gear for teams. It's a good thing. Rosa and Britt start off here as Rosa throws her shirt in the face of Britt Baker, which was a Thunder Rosa sandbagging since 2014 shirt. Jamie gets in, and then her and Toni go to the floor as Britt takes down Rosa with an arm drag, and then goes for the lockjaw immediately. We have a back suplex landing from Rosa after she gets out. Jamie tags in and lands a clothesline and a drop kick, and then a running kick. Rosa nails the clothesline, drop kick, and a running kick with Jamie hung up on the ropes. Toni tags in and she brings the boots down on Hayter in the corner. Rosa tags in, chops her across the chest, and Toni tags back in for a series of quick tags, and we get some tag team maneuvers from Thunderstorm, so nice to see them working as a unit. A double suplex from Thunderstorm lands, and then a snapmare lowers Jamie, allowing for a strong kick to the back from Thunder Rosa. Jamie sends Rosa to the ropes, and Britt catches her while the ref is distracted and rubs her face on the ropes, which allows Jamie to nail Thunder with a forearm, and Britt then tags in. We come back from commercial, and we have dueling chants for Thunder Rosa and DMD, just again showcasing how over Rosa and Britt are. Jamie tags in, and she tries to prevent the hot tag to Toni, but Rosa nails a stunner. We have a huge diving crossbody from Toni as she comes in. She nails the DDT off the apron to Baker. She takes out Rebel, and then it's another diving crossbody onto Jamie. Just a fantastic hot tag from Toni Storm here. And she follows up with a water wheel drop for 2 on Jamie Hayter. Rosa tags in, and they try a double suplex, but Jamie manages to outpower both of them and suplexes them for a really solid reaction. Baker gets tagged in, and she nails a ripcord elbow on Rosa, but Thunder comes back with a Death Valley driver before tagging Toni in, as they look for an assisted Fire Thunder driver, so this looks to be like their tag team finish, I guess. But Rebel distracts Toni on the apron, as Baker then throws Rosa to the floor and hits an avalanche air raid crash on Toni. Jamie Hayter tags in. We have a sliding lariat and a curb stomp on Toni, and it looks like this is going to be the finish here. But Thunder Rosa comes from absolutely out of nowhere with a drop kick to break it up at 2.9. The Fire Thunder driver gets turned into an air raid crash. A DDT lands from Toni, but Jamie nails Storm with a backbreaker, and we get a "This is awesome" chant breaking out as all 4 women get up and start brawling. We have dueling German suplexes from Thunderstorm before they hit stereo hip attacks, and then Toni just goes crazy, just ping-ponging back and forth across the ring, nailing them both, Jamie and Britt. Eventually, Britt pulls Rosa into the path, and so Toni accidentally takes out her partner. And then Jamie from out of nowhere comes in with another lariat to Toni Storm and pins Toni Storm as Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker win. I thought this was an awesome match. I thought these four just worked their asses off, and they got plenty of time here to really shine. The better positioning than going in right before the main event really helped this. The crowd was into this basically from the start to the finish. Jamie and Toni, I thought, were the stars of this match and are really the names that this Women's World title should be built around. They both feel like stars. Jamie got a chant at one point, and again, Toni's hot tag sequence here was phenomenal. So here's hoping that with Jamie getting the win here, I did write this before the match was announced for later, but still, later in the night we would get it announced that Jamie Hayter will be challenging Thunder Rosa at Battle of the Belts for the AEW Women's World title. But I'm hopeful that we're still going to get a fatal four-way or at least a triple threat at All Out with Rosa defending against Baker, Storm, and possibly Hayter. So we'll see. But I thought this was a really, really good women's match tonight. So we had a pre-taped video from Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti as we had a narrated, there's a narration about their marriage and their upcoming wedding. Eddie Kingston cuts it off and says that nobody cares, but they care about Kingston getting his hands on Guevara, and Eddie challenges him to a match at All Out. We have a recap video of Powerhouse Hobbs' shocking heel turn on Ricky Starks, which followed up on the earlier recap in the night as we saw Ricky lose the FTW title to Hook. And we get it told to us that Team Taz is done, as we hear from Taz on commentary. He says he's cutting the ties and he's not going to be involved with this anymore. And we got to Powerhouse Hobbs' new entrance, and this made Powerhouse Hobbs feel like a star instantly. He has a new remix theme, he has new lighting, a new Titantron, and they gave him the Cody Rhodes entrance. If that doesn't say that they view this man as a future main eventer, I don't know what does. This man got the Cody entrance. Hobbs gets a match here. He kills some guy named Ren Jones, and after the match, Ricky Starks runs out and just immediately just tries to tackle Hobbs, but he is leveled with a spine buster as Powerhouse Hobbs stands tall. So, I'm looking forward to this a lot. I'm assuming this is going to be on the All Out card. It better be. And this isn't even a concern because AEW has done this where they'll book things and they're committed to giving you a decisive finish. But I don't know who I would have win this first match between the two, because you're most likely going to have Christian versus Jungle Boy on the card too, and I don't think in both of those first matches the babyface is going to win, or both of the heels are going to win. I think you need to kind of split it where maybe Ricky beats Hobbs and Christian beats Jungle Boy, or you'd have Hobbs beat Ricky and Jungle Boy beats Christian. So we'll see, but I'm excited for both of those matches. But I'm a big fan of the heel turn for Powerhouse Hobbs. We get a short little pre-tape promo from Miro talking to God about having been sent a visitor, who he refers to as a she. For what it's worth, his wife, CJ Perry, has talked about how she would like to work with Miro in AEW, so it could be her. It could also be something with Julia Hart of the House of Black. Either or would probably make sense, but we'll see what it is. I'm down for CJ coming into AEW. I think her and Miro have always had a good dynamic on screen together, which is not something that a lot of real life couples can say they have. So yes, and if it's Julia, that's fine too, because I do want to see her take more of an active role with the House of Black. And then we had a Darby Allin vignette, so just a lot of videos here. This is something that was noticeable on the show, is AEW was doing a lot of recaps and vignettes and videos throughout the night, and I think it was a very good change of pace. This was definitely one of the most well-paced episodes of Dynamite, I think. We had a Darby Allin vignette shown, and he explains that he is the reason Tony Khan hired Brody King, and he shows that he's tattooing his hand, and he says that Brody King asked for this match. And next week, Darby's hand is going to be the last thing he sees. And we officially get the coffin match announced for next week at Quake by the Lake between Darby Allin and Brody King. So that should be very exciting. Both guys are great. I'm a big Brody King fan, and I think Darby is still one of the best AEW originals. And it's very rare that a Darby Allin match does not deliver. So I'm looking forward to this greatly. Jim Ross would arrive on commentary as we would head into the second hour of Dynamite. And we would kick things off here with Christian Cage versus Matt Hardy, a match that I was hoping was going to be a 5-minute squash of just Christian murdering Matt. It was not that, but we'll get to that. For what it's worth, again, Jim Ross only showed up for the second hour of Dynamite tonight, but last week for Fight for the Fallen, he was on the full show. So don't know what that was about, but I do definitely prefer just having Jim Ross on hour 2. I just think it works better. Right here out of the bat, Matt Hardy takes down Christian Cage. He brings down the punches. He sends him into the corner. He comes in with shoulder tackles and fists to the back of Christian Cage. He eventually gets cut off with a shot to the neck and slaps to the face from Christian, but then we go to the ringside area. Matt clears off the timekeeper's table, but Cage gets away and gets back into the ring. Matt lays into him in the corner again. Matt hits the repeated head thrust onto the turnbuckle pads before landing a powerbomb for a 2 count. Back on the floor, Matt looks for a suplex, but Cage sends him back first into the steel steps before just brutally running into Matt's head against the steps with just a really fast, hard knee here to send into commercial break. And when we come back, Matt takes Christian off the top rope with a big superplex and lands a near fall. The two make their way back to their feet and trade blows as Matt gets a back body drop on Christian before mounting him in the corner and unloading with 10 punches as the crowd counts along. He comes down with a diving elbow off the middle rope. The twist of fate gets looked for, but Cage gets out of it and hits a pendulum kick before he goes up top again. Cage then gets back body dropped off the top rope. Matt hits a diving elbow drop for 2. The kill switch gets looked for, but Matt gets out and gets snapped over the top rope. A diving headbutt lands from Christian Cage off the top rope. A side effect from Matt lands for a 2.9. Cage rolls out to the apron, and we have a side effect on the apron. And Matt then grabs the timekeeper's table and brings it closer to the ring. Cage gets put on the table as Matt climbs up onto the apron and comes off with another elbow drop, but Christian gets out of the way at the last second, and Matt sends himself through the table. Cage sends the broken Matt back into the ring, lands the kill switch. Christian Cage wins. I thought this was Matt Hardy's best singles match in forever. I think Christian really sold his ass off for Matt here, so I'd assume that this is probably because they have a relationship together. But I enjoyed this. I was hoping this was just going to be Christian running through him, but we got like a really solid wrestling match out of this, so I'm not even going to complain. Yeah, I thought this was really solid. I enjoyed that these two had counters for each other's moves. It felt like there was a history there. Christian is just a really good heel at this point, as we've seen the past several weeks. Yeah, I again, this was a match I wasn't like looking forward to. I thought this is probably the weakest one on the card. It was something I was hoping was going to be over quickly, but I'm glad with what I got. In the post-match, we had Cage looking for the concerto, but Luchasaurus arrives and heads to the ring to confront Christian, but this is just a distraction as Jungle Boy makes a surprise run-in in a hoodie, and he chases off Christian into the crowd, and he reveals his shirt, which is Christian Cage is a pussy, is what it says, and the crowd celebrates, dancing with Jungle Boy's music as Christian runs off through the audience. So great stuff. Again, this Christian and Jungle Boy feud is very good television. Jungle Boy feels like just a major star. Christian feels like one of the top heels in the company. So yeah, I absolutely, I'm down for all of this. I'm very engaged and enjoying the Christian Jungle Boy saga. We have a backstage segment or a backstage promo with Daniel Garcia with Tony Schiavone, as he says last week he got the biggest win in AEW history. He submitted the American Dragon, and he declares that he is the Dragon Slayer and the best technical sports entertainer of all time. And when Bryan heals up, he'll slay him again. And then we get a recap of PAC's All-Atlantic Championship defense this week from Tuesday's edition of Dark. I believe it was against Connor Mills. And they highlighted Kip Sabian's stare down with him, with Kip wearing his box. So it does appear that we are going to be moving forward with a PAC and Kip Sabian program for the All-Atlantic Championship. So most likely the first feud for that title. So for everybody who's been waiting for the return of Kip Sabian, it looks like it's here. Back to the ring, we have another promo. Ethan Page is in the ring as he has taken over the show, and he asks, why the hell is Ethan Page not on TV every week, and starts screaming, why? Why doesn't he have an action figure, or why isn't he on the bus? Page says that he deserves better, and the crowd agrees with him, and then Ethan cuts them off and asks, why would you cheer, and berates them for not buying his shirts and instead buying Eddie Kingston, CM Punk, and Orange Cassidy ones. In the middle of this, Stokely Hathaway comes out and just stands behind Page, who is so into his promo that he doesn't realize he's there. Every week that Ethan Page isn't on TV, the company is leaving money on the table. He doesn't realize that Stokely was in the ring the entire time, and Stokely asks him what he's doing. He whispers something in his ear, and Stokely gives him the card. And Ethan and Stokely leave together. So Stokely Hathaway is doing something here. And he now officially has Lee Moriarty and Ethan Page under his wing, as well as the baddies. So, very interesting stuff here. Very exciting stuff if you're a Stokely Hathaway fan, which, how could you not be? And again, I have seen people mention it online that, Ethan's promo felt eerily, like, not to the same level, but eerily, like, going over kind of the same type of content in his promo that we got with MJF at the LA show. Stokely Hathaway also tweeted out a picture indicating that there are more people he's looking for in his faction, either 2 or 3 more people. Could this be a new group for MJF to run? I don't know. I really don't know. I have no idea how you reintroduce MJF. The Pinnacle's dead. FTR are the like 2 of the biggest baby faces in the company. Sean Spears is I don't know where Sean Spears is. Tully's gone. So I just feel like, I don't know how you bring MJF back, but if it's him leading a faction of guys that are, saying that they're underrated and deserve like more opportunities and to be given a spotlight in AEW, it could work. But it's going to be interesting to see them as heels. This is a heel group. I do not know why Lee Moriarty's in it, but if they have a plan for him, I'll take it. So we'll see how it goes. We go backstage to Tony Schiavone once again, and he's with more of the Jericho Appreciation Society as he's standing by with 2.0 and Anna J.A.S. Matt Menard says that 1 week from tonight, Jericho is going to become Le Champion once again, and that makes his nipples hard. And Angelo says that they are the greatest faction of all time. And Anna J.A.S. states that she is the sexiest and the toughest, and she proved it when she choked Ruby out. She threatens to choke out the cameraman, Tony Schiavone, and then she does choke out a production crew member as the camera has to cut away. And, 2 weeks in, and I think Anna J is, her delivery is still not perfect, but she's significantly more entertaining than she ever was as a babyface. And 2.0, Matt Menard and Angelo Parker are gems. Absolute gems. I hope these 2 eventually get a tag team title run because they're fantastic. We go into the dumpster match tonight, which is the Acclaimed versus the Gunn Club. And the Acclaimed to run out and nail the Gunn Club as they're making their entrance, taking them out with trash cans. Max calls for the music, and he the big line he says is, "No filter like Instagram, they're going to make the Gunn Club retire like Vince McMahon." And they also suggest that they're more positive than Joe Biden's COVID test. The Gunn Club cut off Bowens and grabbed trash cans. They send Max into the side of the dumpster. Bowens eventually reverses a double suplex, and he suplexes both the Gunns. We have Bowens and Austin get in the ring. A super kick levels Austin, and Colton sends Bowens over the top rope and puts his head into the dumpster. Austin then slams the lid on his head repeatedly. The Gunn Club then power Anthony Bowens into the dumpster, and Max goes in too, and as the Gunn Club are trying to close the lid, they nail them with cookie sheets and scissor each other as they get out of the dumpster as we go into commercial break. We come back and Bowens gets tossed off the top of the dumpster and sent onto several trash cans. That did not look fun to take. Caster gets taken to the top of the stage. He fights back against the Ass Boys, but gets sent face first into the dumpster. The Ass Boys get a table out, and they set it up at the top of the stage. We have a snap suplex landing from Colton on the metal grating. Bowens makes his way to the top, and the Colt 45 lands on the top of the stage, which that's a really good-looking move from Colton Gunn. Austin climbs up the lighting rig and calls for an elbow drop as Colton places Bowens on the table. Bowens kicks Colton away, and we see Max climbing the lighting rig behind Austin. Austin then gets tossed off the entrance tunnel into the dumpster, and Caster then comes off the top tunnel with a mic drop through the table onto Colton. Colton gets put in the dumpster, and the lid gets closed, and the Acclaimed win. And post-match, the Acclaimed then drag the dumpster to the side of the stage, and they push it off and dump them off the stage. Absolutely brutal. I don't know how you take that safely, but Austin Gunn did tweet today, so they are alive. But this is a pretty fun dumpster match, all things considered. The Acclaimed are incredibly over, and I'm very glad that we have them as baby faces now. The Gun Club have come into their own as heels. They're still not like the best workers or anything, but they're also still pretty young and fairly inexperienced, so I can forgive that. But as a heel like duo and with Daddy Ass Billy Gunn, I enjoy them, and I think this feud with the Acclaim has been entertaining. And I thought they had a really solid dumpster match here. After this, we have a brief recap from Ric Flair's last match pay-per-view, where we see Mance Warner winning the Bunkhouse Battle Royale on the pre-show. I believe he last eliminated Bully Ray. And we have the announcement that on AEW Rampage on Friday, which is a live show, Jon Moxley will be defending the AEW World Championship against Mance Warner. Madison Rayne will be making her in-ring debut, which was then followed up on today, as I'm recording this, with a special 3-match episode of AEW Dark Elevation where Hikaru Shida faced off against Emi Sakura with Madison Rayne on commentary, and post-match Jade came out, so it does appear that so we're getting Madison Rayne versus Layla Gray, the interim baddie, on Rampage, and then it looks like Madison Rayne will be facing off against Jade next week on Dynamite. So, exciting stuff. I didn't mention it because, going through, just trying to get through Dynamite, but Madison Rayne is now one of the women's coaches for the women division. There was a bunch of news about new positions for people in the company, including Sanjay Dutt, QT Marshall, Tony Schiavone, and Madison Rayne. So, and Swerve in Our Glory will be defending against Josh Woods and Tony Nese for the AEW Tag Team titles. Battle of the Belts 3, we have Claudio Castagnoli versus Konosuke Takeshita for the ROH World title. Thunder Rosa versus Jamie Hayter for the AEW Women's World title. Wardlow versus Jay Lethal for the TNT Championship. And then our matches for Quake at the Lake next week: Jon Moxley versus Chris Jericho or Wheeler Yuta for the interim AEW World Championship. Jade Cargill versus a mystery opponent in the TNT Championship Open Challenge, which will most likely be Madison Rayne. The Lucha Brothers versus Rush and Andrade in a Tornado Tag Team match. And Darby Allin versus Brody King in a coffin match. So, very exciting stuff. Again, just a lot of bonker stuff announced in a matter of like a few minutes here. Rampage, it's live this week, so live Rampages hit differently, but that looks like a must-watch show with everything. Battle of the Belts 3, this feels like the strongest Battle of the Belts card that we've seen, and Battle of the Belts 4 just got announced for October, I believe. So hopefully they can continue this, because all 3 of these matches feel really big, and just feel like, matches that I would want to see on a TV special. And Quake by the Lake also looks super strong. Moxley versus Jericho. It's one of the biggest matches AEW has. Jade versus Madison Rayne is really big. Lucha Brothers versus Rush and Andrade is huge. And the casket match, or the coffin match, with Darby and Brody King. So, exciting stuff as we head into the main event for tonight, which is Wheeler Yuta versus Chris Jericho, with the winner facing Jon Moxley at Quake by the Lake. Right off the bat, Jericho slaps Yuta. Wheeler flicks Jericho's broken nose before mounting him with punches and takes Chris into the corner, nails him with a hard chop. They go to ringside. Yuta's fired up and just takes it to Jericho, sending him into the different barricades. Claudio's in his corner as 2.0s with Jericho. And we have Wheeler sending Jericho back into the ring, and 2.0 grab at Yuta's boots to trip him up. Aubrey ejects them. As 2.0 is exiting, Jericho goes for a roll-up, but Yuta escapes and drops him with a boot in the corner before heading up high. Jericho crotches him on the top turnbuckle, and when we come back from commercial break, Jericho's then in control, but Yuta fires up with forearms against the ropes, kicking at Jericho's chest and nailing a Manhattan drop and an Enziguri combo. Yuta comes off the top rope and takes down Jericho. We have the two colliding in the center of the ring with crossbodies. A strike exchange as the two make their way back to their feet. Yuta lands a German suplex and then keeps it locked in as he proceeds to hit 5 successfully in a row, bridges on the final and gets a near fall. He goes for a 6th after Jericho kicks out, but Jericho counters into the walls of Jericho. Yuta sends Jericho over the top and to the floor, connecting with a tope suicida, and comes out with a 2nd, heads back into the ring for a 3rd, and he connects, so he hits the trio. Jericho gets sent back into the ring as Yuta heads high again and nails a diving crossbody that lands for 2 before getting caught with a double underhook backbreaker, which is not a move I remember seeing Chris Jericho use ever, and a short-armed clothesline. Jericho goes for the lion salt, but Yuta gets the knees up and goes up top again. Yuta comes off the top but gets caught with the code breaker and kicks out at the last second. The crowd is very into this, and this is back-to-back weeks where we got really good showcases for some young guys. Jericho does the BCC hammer and anvil elbows, but Yuta rakes the eyes and gets a submission locked in. Whatever this was, it did not look like a fun time for Jericho. But he grabs the bat, and as Aubrey is distracted and throwing it out, he kicks Wheeler in the nuts. The Judas effect gets looked for, but Yuta counters with the seatbelt clutch. Jericho gets out, and he puts the Lion Tamer in, and Yuta taps out. Chris Jericho wins and keeps his title shot against Jon Moxley. I thought this was back-to-back weeks of banger main events for Dynamite. We had Wheeler versus Jericho here, which was really good, and then last week we had Danielson versus Garcia, which was fantastic. And it was just a really good spotlight for young talent, as AEW has really, they've been focusing on it a lot lately. So you love to see that. And I thought Yuta and Jericho just had a really good match. Moxley versus Jericho made sense. I don't think many people assumed Wheeler was going to win this. It is still a very major match since AEW hasn't done it since the beginning of 2020 when Moxley dethroned Jericho for the AEW World Title at Revolution. So I'm excited to see what Moxley, in his current run where he's just putting on must-see matches basically anytime he steps in the ring, can get out of Jericho. And equally, again, anytime Jericho has a singles match, people sometimes roll their eyes, but he always seems to deliver. So I'm very excited for what these two can do. It should be fun. And as the show goes off the air, Jericho says that Moxley has unleashed the demon and says that next week he's going to get the Lionheart Chris Jericho, and he's going to stretch the shit out of Jon Moxley and is going to walk out as the new AEW champion. So, that was Dynamite. I thought it was a really strong show. I thought this was one of the most well-paced, well-put-together episodes of Dynamite. I thought the women had an absolute banger of a match. I thought Lethal versus Orange Cassidy was great. I thought the main event was great. I thought the dumpster match was a ton of fun. Powerhouse Hobbs looked like a star. We had a bunch of really good promos. We had Ethan Page cutting a very good promo. We had lots of pre-tape stuff and vignettes and recaps of the Ricky Starks stuff from last week. So I thought that, again, I just think this was a show that was kind of firing on all cylinders this week. I'd say 2 thumbs up for me. I really enjoyed this episode, and it had me excited for Rampage, for Battle of the Belts 3, and for Quake by the Lake next week on Wednesday. So that's going to do it for this week's episode, covering AEW Dynamite for the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast. So if you enjoyed, be sure to subscribe wherever you're listening, whether it's on streaming services for the podcast or if you're listening on YouTube. Help us out. Help us continue to grow. If you are on YouTube, leave a like, leave a comment. Tell us what you enjoyed about the show, what you didn't enjoy about the show. What are you looking forward to for All Out? Whatever you want to comment, just, feel free to do so. And, So keep your eyes peeled wherever you're listening to for the next episodes of the podcast. We got plenty of content coming out for NXT UK, Impact, AEW, New Japan, WWE for SmackDown. So plenty of stuff coming your way. So just be sure to subscribe and keep your eyes peeled. Until next time, I've been Pat, and enjoy the rest of your night.